Hi guys, I hope that this lighting's okay. It's not the best camera I have on my laptop here. Okay guys, so today I am back and I'm going to do a live stream this time around on I'm doing it on YouTube. And I'm just going to be reading a book that I have been reading on my channel, and it's called The Awakened Mind, Biofeedback, and the Development of Higher States of Awareness. Now, I just want to give a kind of an explanation about what this book has been up to this point. This was a book that was referenced in another book I read on my channel called Psych K that talks about how to kind of reprogram our subconscious mind and like how to do that. So this book was recommended as kind of like a research tool. Like it was where he got a lot of his research from, the writer did, about how meditative states can, oh, thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate that. Kind of how meditative states can, oh, what do you call it? Get us to a point where we can like lower inflammation, we can get to a higher frequency. Hold on, I have Joseph coming in on Bigo. He says, follow me. Okay, there you go, Joseph, followed. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna just jump in here. And if you guys have any questions as we go along, feel free to just comment, or if you have any comments, I'll check back here and there to answer them. So I'm just gonna hop in. I'm on chapter 2, recognizing internal states. The research. The research with which this chapter is concerned may properly be considered to have begun in 1970, at which time, with Dr. Ann Woolley Hart, we had for some 2 years been studying electrical skin resistance, ESR, as a possible clinical aid to diagnosis in preventative medicine for symptomless disease. That is, disease in its early stages before there are any overt symptoms. We had experienced occasional difficulty due to the considerable variation which can occur when a subject is emotionally disturbed. From the viewpoint of the clinical project, this psychophysiological effect was merely a nuisance, but it then occurred to us that it might be exploited for the assessment of mental states in lieu of rather more usual method of psychogalvanic reflex, or PGR. At the same time that we were involved in this work, we had been engaged in experimental hypnotic studies for which it was desirable to be able to monitor slow changes in the subject's state of mind, and for which PGR measurements were unsuitable. We knew that attempts to measure bodily correlates of mental states had been made for many years with varying degrees of success, and that electrical skin resistance had been among the methods used. For example, in 1930, M. Levin made an unsuccessful attempt to measure depth of hypnosis by ESR. In 1931, C.P. Richter carried out extensive experiments on change of ESR during sleep. And in 1960, Keith Wallace of Harvard Medical School used both ESR and electroencephalography, I hate that word, or EEG, to study physiological effects of transcendental meditation, concluding that profound changes in bodily parameters do not occur in hypnosis. And many other workers had independently demonstrated that ESR is inversely related, meaning that as one factor becomes greater, another associated factor becomes smaller, the level of neurological arousal. Although there was an obvious inverse relationship between hypnosis and level of arousal, since a hypnotized subject, although he may be fully aware of his surroundings, is passive unless instructed otherwise, numerous recent studies had shown that hypnosis was accompanied by either an increase or a decrease or no change at all in ESR heart rate, blood pressure, or respiration. The conclusion reached by these workers that hypnosis had no reliable physiological correlate was disappointing. But Dr. Woolley Hart had already established many causes of non-repeatability in ESR measurements, several of which appear to have been overlooked in some earlier work. It was decided, therefore, to make a pilot study of ESR in hypnotized subjects, applying all the precautions which had been found necessary in clinical work, to see whether any clear relationship could be found. Oh, I have one like. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. There was no difficulty in finding 5 experienced hypnotic subjects for the initial trials, and experiments were carried out on the relationship between ESR and level of arousal during trance. If subjects were unstressed, simply being given suggestions of relaxation and drowsiness and being permitted to stay in trance for a time, and then awakened, produced an ESR graph against time of a smooth curve. On the other hand, if subjects were stressed by being given tests of depth, example, asked to move a limb after being told that they were paralyzed, asked to solve problems in mental arithmetic or to recall events from childhood days, then the ESR varied widely. The greater the stress, the more nearly did the ESR approach its waking value. Also, guys, if you're just coming in right now on the stream, I am reading The Awakened Mind, Biofeedback and the Development of Higher States of Awareness. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, I will post these every time I do them. So you'll just get a reading of me reading this, this book there. And yeah, so my YouTube channel is Kumquat Kelly, KUMQUAT space Kelly. You can see it on my profile as well in Bigo. If you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Okay, moving forward. These results strongly suggested that in hypnosis, as in sleep and in deep waking and relaxation, the ESR is inversely proportional to the level of arousal. The problem then was how to explain the contradictory results obtained by other workers. Despite our long experience of the complexities of making ESR measurements, we thought it improbable that other workers had neglected any simple physical factors. It seemed equally unlikely that the experimenters had been misled as to the depth of hypnosis of their subjects. The further possibility was that insufficient allowance had been made for personal psychophysiological factors, such as subject's temperament, any physical disease, whether he smoked, took drugs or alcohol, whether he had recently eaten or taken exercise, and so on. Emotional changes had been found to interfere with the measurement of bodily changes. It was quite clear that the reverse process must also occur. A larger experimental series was planned with 14 subjects. To improve standardization and control, all the subjects were hypnotized by the same method, in the same room and as far as possible at the same time of day, to reduce the effect of diurnal variations, or variations that take place during the day, such as bodily temperature. Before each session, notes were made for each subject as to whether he had recently taken exercise, eaten or smoked or taken drugs. The value of this procedure was quickly proved. 2 of the new subjects started taking tranquilizers on medical advice, and they showed ESR values which were high both in absolute terms, i.e., as compared with the range of ESR values for people in general, and as compared with their readings before taking drugs. Period. During hypnosis, the ESR did increase above the waking value, but by a much smaller amount than usual. Also, these subjects' response under stress was greatly reduced. I do want to make one point here, because this is a great example of how we, I think as Americans, value science in such an absolute way. And obviously there is a lot of value to science, but I think a lot of people think that scientific conclusions and the scientific method is infallible. When really, if we do not have all of the control variables that could possibly be occurring in a scientific experiment, then these variables could absolutely be affecting the results that we are getting. And even if it's like a correlation experiment where we're like, oh, this is absolutely the cause of this effect, we might not be thinking about another variable that actually is the true, reason for why such a thing happens, So I just want to say that when we think about science, it's really important not to have a religious viewpoint on it, that this is absolutely the end all be all and no one can have another opinion or something like that. I think so often we get into this mindset that whatever a scientific paper says must be true, when really there has to be some kind of balance with respecting the scientific method and also realizing that we could be wrong at a certain point and keep that open-mindedness open if new information comes along, Okay. Before starting hypnosis, subjects were required to sit quietly with the electrodes in place for 15 minutes. This also proved valuable. In cold weather, subjects who had just come in sometimes showed an initial rise of skin current. A similar effect sometimes occurred if the electrodes were very cold when first applied. It is appropriate at this point to mention methods for distinguishing hypnosis from simulated hypnosis and means for estimating trance depth. Simulation occasionally occurs not because the subject wants to deceive the hypnotist, but because he's over anxious to cooperate and not let him down. This is an ever-present possibility with no experienced hypnotist neglects. Fortunately, there are several effective tests which can be applied. A hypnotized subject told that he is being given eau de cologne to smell, for example, will sniff at ammonia appreciatively, whereas a simulator will be unable to hide his discomfort. Since the earliest hypnotic experiments, psychologists have tried to differentiate between the various depths of trance on the basis of the characteristic phenomena which could be elicited. In 1886, H. Bernheim described 9 stages of hypnosis. A. Liebold in 1889, Auguste Forel in 1923, and others considered that 3 stages were enough for practical purposes. A very useful modern method is the Lecron-Bordeaux scoring system, which takes into account 50 of the symptoms and sensations experienced by hypnotized subjects and scores 2 points for each symptom. 5 stages are recognized: hypnoidal, just beginning to become suggestible; light trance, medium trance, deep trance; and plenary, very deep trance. Since subjects show great individual variation as to what symptoms they present, some deep trance symptoms may occasionally be manifested in light trance, and vice versa. No such scale is completely reliable. Hold on, guys, I need a water break. Nevertheless, the Lecron-Bordeaux system is a helpful guide, and we used it in our research for the main series of hypnotic experiments. All right, guys, again, if you're just joining the stream right now, I'm reading from the book, The Awakened Mind, Biofeedback, and the Development of Higher States of Awareness. If you guys have any questions or comments while I'm reading it, feel free to put it in the comments. Otherwise, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's called Kumquat Kelly, and on Bigo, the spelling of that is put there. So if you want to check out that channel, maybe watch some of the videos, subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Thanks. All right, back to the book. It was soon apparent that the person-to-person variation in average ESR and the session-to-session variation for each person made the measurement of absolute resistant values useless for the assessment of hypnotic depths. It was nevertheless quite clear that the ESR increased very rapidly as soon. Oh, hi, Anup Kumar. It was nevertheless quite clear that the ESR increased very rapidly as soon as the subject became hypnotized, especially in those subjects who had much experience of hypnosis and who had lost all nervousness. Guys, if you just joined the stream, I am reading from the book, The Awakened Mind, Biofeedback, and the Development of Higher States of Awareness. In the pilot experiments, the measurements, which are made in microamperes, or 1/1,000,000th of an ampere, of current through the body, were converted into electrical resistance so as to obtain comparisons with the published result of other workers. In the main series, the work was simplified by recording and plotting current values. It was noticed that some subjects occasionally showed very low initial current values, usually when they were tired, and that in such instances, the total current fall during hypnosis might be only a few microamperes instead of the usual 30 or 40, and yet they were deeply hypnotized. The experimenters then realized that absolute values were no guide, but that what mattered was the proportional change that occurred on each occasion. The result of plotting the greatest proportional current change in each 100 experimental trances against the maximum estimated depth of hypnosis, using the Lecron-Bordeaux scoring system just described, reached in each trance session, showed that there was considerable variation, and in view of the difficulty of assessing depth of hypnosis from bodily symptoms, as well as the difficulty of obtaining an ESR reading uninfluenced by extraneous factors, was only to be expected. The agreement, however, was good enough to show that the measurement of ESR could be a most valuable tool for monitoring hypnotic trance depth. Oh, thanks, Laugh Native. Guys, if you're just joining the stream right now, I'm reading from the book The Awakened Mind, Biofeedback and the Development of Higher States of Awareness. This is the second book I've read on my YouTube channel because I'm simultaneously streaming on there. If you guys want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, check out the videos. I have vlogs, I have, talks and story times and readings. My YouTube channel is Kumquat Kelly. You can see it in the title right there and also in my profile. And if you want to go over there, subscribe, check it out, I'd really appreciate that. All right, guys, back to the book. The most striking feature was something which could not be shown in tabular form and had to be experienced to be appreciated. It was the extent to which the use of an ESR meter improved hypnotic rapport. Every smallest change in the subject's state is immediately indicated, and the hypnotist has a clear guide to his progress and his mistakes. For instance, we were hypnotizing a patient for the first time, and after a good start suggested, as I count slowly from 1 to 10, your sleep will become progressively deeper, much deeper. As soon as counting began, the meter showed great agitation, followed by the patient beginning to wake up. The patient was awakened and questioned. It transpired that he had been a parachutist, and counting slowly was to him a very exciting procedure. Induction was repeated using the letters of the alphabet in place of counting, and deep trance was reached in 10 minutes. Apart from the help with induction, therefore, we saw that rapport is improved because the subject is impressed by the hypnotist's ability to say, no, drop that thought. It is disturbing to you. Just relax and let it go. For many years, we had been of the opinion that a large part of the beneficial effects of hypnotherapy and even of psychoanalysis was due to the long periods of deep relaxation on the therapist's couch, a view which was strengthened by what we learned about sensory deprivation during visits in 1963 and 1964 to McGill and Princeton universities. When Dr. Woolley Hart in the spring of 1972 seriously questioned the relative effectiveness of suggestion and of deep relaxation in hypnotherapy, we immediately began to design an experiment. In the autumn of 1972, with 2 groups of volunteers, usually 20 in each group, we tried the effect on group A of 10 weekly sessions of 2 hours, each in which, after a short paper had been read on some aspect of psychosomatic health, the class received group hypnotherapy in the form of simple suggestions for health and confidence. The B group also heard the same paper on psychosomatic health, followed by an hour or more of autogenic exercises and deep psychological relaxation. That is relaxation deep enough to produce a 250% or greater increase in ESR. No suggestions of health were given, but this group showed great benefits compared with the others. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to end the reading right there. I do want to say one thing. This book has been fine. I will say that previous to me posting these readings on YouTube, I had done tons of streams on Bigo Live where I was reading very interesting books. We would have me and some of the commenters would have great discussions about what we were reading. This book has been so unbelievably dry. And I'm going to be honest, it's I'm on chapter 2 and it's a 400-page book. I'm going to be honest, I don't have the desire to complete this book. Now, if any of you are like, oh man, I come to the stream every single time. I love this book. I need more of it. Please finish the book, Kelly. Write me a comment in the comment section. I'll consider that, sure. But otherwise, I think I'm going to come back next week with a different book, a more exciting book, and see if we can have a better discussion on that. Okay, so I'm going to end the stream right there. I do want to plug my YouTube channel one more time before I get off, and that is Kumquat Kelly. It's spelled Kumquat space Kelly, and you can see that on my profile at Bigo. And if you can go over, check out a few videos, subscribe. I do vlogs, I do travel videos, I do story times, I do readings. So if you like any of that, please go over there. Really appreciate that. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Thank you.